Hello everyone and welcome to Reconnect session today. We are going to talking about the topic on the construction technology. Okay, I'm Chua, the moderator and also one of the panel speaker today. Okay, like without any doubt, okay, the 2020 has been a very tough year for especially for the property industry, the real estate industry, but yet it's actually the one of the most interesting year for this entire industry also. During the past 12 months or 24 to 12 months, okay, COVID-19 pandemic has been causing the very huge disruption with the lockdown on various construction sites due to the cases, and eventually this has affected the construction progress, and even some of the company is having the great financial loss. And then why that I'm saying that this is one of the interesting year for the construction and also the property industry. Like looking back to the most difficult times of the past last year, during the pandemic lockdown, the MCO is everywhere. We can definitely say that the pandemic has pushed the construction and the property industry to a higher level on the digital adoption and also the digital transformation. Like most of the contractor and the property developer, the industry player, okay, they are actually looking for the solution to really can help them to work more safely and communicate more rapidly, and even they can help them to manage their so-called their progress or even their financial during although they are still work at home. Okay, and one of the answer that they are finding to make this construction and property business to become more sustainable is actually the technology. And this is why today we are here. We are actually going to talking about the construction technology ecosystem, like how the property industry or the industry player to build a thriving digital construction empire. Okay, so in order to discuss on this question, this topic, we are very honored to invite two of these our panelists today. Okay, the Dato Sri, Dr. Zabit, is actually the executive director of the Think Data Senyap Berhad. And Dato Sri is not only the director for the digital transformation company, he is actually come with a very strong academic background. We all know that he is actually one of the professor of the business management in various universities such as the UPM, the Open University, and the Univaza. His domain expert is including the digital transformation, the strategy management, and even the business analytics, big data, and also the industrial revolution. Okay, then talking about our panelist today, she's actually a superwoman in the construction industry. So Theo Puiman, she is actually the CEO and also the founder of Speedbrick Solution. Then she is actually a lawyer. She's got a lawyer background and turned into the contract that sit inside the contractor side. And this is how her ideas come from. She found out that actually the construction side needs this solution. And this is why she developed a digital solution for the contractor to help them to minimizing the risk, to help them to control their profit. Okay, like so for this one, maybe other than my introduction, if you guys got any add-on for your intro, or is everything okay?
Okay. Good day, everybody. Thank you, Chua, for introducing us, and also Puimun to be with us today to discuss about the construction industry digital program.
Yeah.
Now, I think we need to understand first and foremost that the construction sector is very important in Malaysian economy.
Yes.
Okay. However, in the last few years, we have noted that the productivity level of the construction sector is one of the lowest in the country.
Yeah.
Okay. At one time, it was even lower than agriculture. So I think with this pandemic on COVID-19, and with the requirement for us to do businesses in different ways, I think it's only timely that digitalization of the construction sector or the property sector is quite at the right time. Because only through digitalization that we can think about doing business in different ways. And one of the ways is actually moving the industry to the next level, that is by adopting digital technologies so that we can enhance, more important is the level of productivity, efficiency, and also at the end of the day, improve our bottom line for businesses. And I believe that with whatever is coming, happen in Malaysia in the last 12 months, and also perhaps in the next 12 months, it is very timely for us to look at how do we prepare ourselves, okay, for the next level of growth or business in the construction sector. And this is very timely because for us to do any change is not easy. The business environment today is described as VUCA, which is very volatile, very uncertain, very complex, and also very ambiguous. And whether we like it or not, it's not easy for us or anybody to see how to overcome VUCA. But we need to go through that.
We have
process.
to open-minded.
Yes.
We need to ready to accept the new thing.
The new things, yes. Maybe Puimun would like to add a few things, perhaps.
I absolutely agree with where we are right now. We've started on where we are right now. The thing is, construction is very volatile. We are the least digitized industry in the world. I think agriculture is overtaking us with a lot of automations. But most of the time, we still see construction industry, in my sector, which is the contractors, are doing things very manually.
Very traditional.
Yes. For the past 20, 30 years, they have been doing things the same way. While the world is changing, we are currently living in a digital world. We are having this event with you in this virtual platform. But contractors, if you ask them how they do business, they rely very heavily on pen and paper. And I think it's time to change now. I always have questions to ask contractors today, if you guys are here, is can you continue to do business in a digital world using a traditional method? If you don't think you can, I think this is the best time for you to start looking for a digital tool to hop on board into digitizations. This is for contractors, and also I think Chua, you come from a developer background, right? What is your take on how developers are performing in this digitizations?
Okay. If talking about the property developer point of view, normally, usually, they are the one that just want to know about the contractor progress, and for what for my side here, okay, we actually more on for the developer side, they are more focusing on buying and also the selling property, and this is why the technology is a bit different compared with the property technology, PropTech, and also the construction technology. Like for our side, actually, we do have some of the so-called crossover technology here. Like for one of my solution is actually talking about the defect management. Okay, that some of our developer, although our client base is more on the property developer point of view, but actually the user that really use the system actually is the contractor, the main con, the subcon, like even some of the consulting company like the architect, the landscape, or maybe the M&E, they actually using our system to do their own internal inspection after they find out that what is the defect that currently under the construction, or maybe after the delivery, after the PP, they actually also trying to use the technology to help them to manage out all these defect record, and they are trying to make it become more organized. And this is what the technology do. The technology actually helping them to organize a very messy thing into a very proper way. And then other than that, we actually also helping them in the communication. Like because that we all know that the construction site, it involves many parties, not only for the worker, main con, but also the site manager, building manager. This is how the technology actually is trying to closing the gaps up between all these parties, all these stakeholders together, so that they just refer to one solution, they can actually able to do many things.
Okay, I agree with you, Chua, but maybe what we should do is also take one step back to understand, because when we talk about digital transformation or digitalization, I think a lot of people are confused, because the fundamental issue today is Today the government is talking about Industrial Revolution 4.0.
Yeah, even like the sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
like the Prime Minister, I think also recently also come out their 10 years digital economy blueprint. They're
Yeah.
actually trying to pushing our Malaysia the digital economy towards.
Yeah, but what I would like to highlight is this, before we can talk about digital transformation or digitalization or digitization, we need to understand that all this happens because of the development of Industrial Revolution 4.0. And in the Industrial Revolution 4.0, there are several components that is very much interrelated with digital transformation. And a lot of people are confused because on one hand they hear about cloud, they hear about AR, virtual reality, augmented reality. They hear about data analytics. They hear about IoT, and they thought that these are all parts which are not related. No, actually, all these components are actually interrelated.
Yes.
Yes. And this is the biggest challenge because people thought they need a cloud, but it's only a storage. Basically, in simple language, it's a storage for your database, for your system, to manage your information system. And then when you talk about augmented reality, they thought there's another hallucination kind of projects, imagination. And then when you talk about data analytics, I'm not a researcher, I'm not an analyst, things like that. Whereas in reality, all these things are very much interconnected. And I think, as far as the contractor is concerned, they need to understand that all these things are very interconnected. For example, when we talk about digitalization, one of the most important components is understanding Internet of Things, IoT. And when you talk about IoT, it's actually getting yourself connected to every part or every process of the work. That's all.
Yeah.
And IoT doesn't require you to be a large company for you to be involved. It can be involved by even small companies. For example, one of the simplest IoT processes is what you call here today through the Grab Food or Panda Food delivery, because you are connected. You are connected between the client, you are connected between the buyer, you are connected with the supplier, and you are connected with the delivery. So the same thing, when you talk about the construction industry, how do you connect each other? For example, the supplier of the sand, the supplier of the cement, the delivery of the sand or the cement. How do you connect with your clients actually, the developer, for example. How do you connect with your supervisors? And all these things are very much interconnected. And as a successful, or if you want to move forward in the construction industry, I think the biggest challenge will be getting all the contractors to adopt the IoT connections. That's the first thing.
I think it's very interesting when Dato' you mentioned about connection. Do you guys know that, right, even within a construction companies, contractors, people working in the construction companies are disconnected. You have construction sites screaming for material at site, and office will be like, wait, I need to check. There is a breakdown of communication between site and offices. And the best part is, there are a lot of drama in a construction firm. And one of the drama that I've seen is actually cost one of my clients millions. The story starts like this. Construction site order for material, and then it go to an approval flow. So usually what happens in construction site now is they will write down the material they want to order, which is in a piece of paper, and this piece of paper is bring to a manager. The manager will then look at it. Without any data to back up whether this material is within or exceeded the budget, the manager sign on it. Once it's being signed, this piece of paper need to be scanned in the site office to email to the HQ. People in the HQ receive this, the purchasing department usually receive this, and then this is the time where they do data entry in Excel sheets to check, whether I'm within or exceeded my budget. They have to do it in Excel sheets. And the best part is, all these things will take time. Site is screaming, hey, I need material yesterday. But where's my material? And purchaser will be like, wait, let me see whether you have within or exceeded the budget. And then when directors look at these informations, right, it's always too late. The directors will be like, hey, site needs material, why are you not releasing it? Purchaser will be like, I'm checking. And then what my clients did was that because of one of the mistakes they made site already ordered the material, it was left at ground floor. When they build up to level 6, they forget they already ordered the material. Guess what? Double order.
Yeah.
Oh.
Double order.
But,
then,
but the order material is still there.
yes, the order material is still there. So double order. So there's a lot of miscommunications between site and office. Not because they want to do that. It's because there's no good tool that can link them in terms of communications.
Yeah, a channel.
Yeah, because now, right, how do you communicate? The best tool you have is your phone.
Yeah, WhatsApp.
Or you use WhatsApp.
Yeah, you
Imagine
WhatsApp.
using WhatsApp to monitor material, you have to scroll up. how and what is going on right now is the communication breakdown between different departments. It's not on purpose, but it's happening today. And I think the sad part is a status quo. I have a prospect that says, hey, we have already been doing business like this for the past 30, 40 years. Why should we change? They got used to it. It's numb. It's numb. It's quite sad when you see contractors are feeling numb. It's like, construction is like that. I have to do things this way.
Yeah.
There's no better way.
No, that's why I this is one of the reasons why, if you look at the bottom line for the contractors, the margins, the net margins, okay, you find that actually under the current business environment, their margins are getting thinner and thinner, smaller and smaller. And one of the reasons is because, like Pui Mun has said, is because they were not able to manage the connectivity among themselves. For example, there is one guy, I believe, contractor, who will say, okay, I need to order 5 lorries of sand. And they order the sand for 5 lorries, without realizing that in the evening there will be rain. Imagine if the sand is delivered at 4 o'clock, and at 5:30 in KL there is a sudden storm. What happens to the sand? Half of what you have ordered for 5 lorries will go down. No. So these are what you call wastages, or that you did not anticipate. There is no way for you to anticipate, unless of course you have a system, a solution that will tell you, hey, please look at the weather forecast. Is it going to rain, for example? So if it is going to rain, then I want you to deliver the sand tomorrow instead of today, for example. So these are ways that you can actually help to reduce, some people call leakages, whether it is a deliberate leakage or whether it is a non-deliberate leakage or non-intentional. And a lot of businesses like this actually, very sorry, when you look at contractors, they have to respond to these situations and they call it uncertain. And before the project starts, yes, they will tell you, I'll get 35% profit margin. By the end of the project, they only have less than 5%. And it's all because of all these leakages.
Provided if they take back the retention sum.
And if they forget about the retention, then it will be like,
and also doesn't count for the progress delay.
Yes.
I actually do not think, based on my experience working in the construction industry for the past decade, I do not think contractors know whether they are making or losing money. It's based on fact, because most of the company is based on gut feeling. I'm making money. I feel that I'm making money. But in actual fact, what's going on is that they are taking a new project to roll. It's based on cash
cover
flow.
The previous project.
So
just
are
like
you making money per project basis? It's very difficult to see, because you look at it. Of course, it's easy to monitor your progress claim. And today, all the accounting system is not designed for per project basis.
Yes.
It's designed for company. So one company, how do you know whether you make money or lose money? It's by the end of the financial year, you do a profit and loss statement. But this is actually bad for contractors. Why? When you have 10 projects, some is finishing, some is starting, you will not be able to see whether this profit or loss is actually a profit or actually a loss, because you are still rolling.
And also different projects actually also come with different stage also.
Correct.
Like some of the stage they already claim, some of them they doesn't claim. Because it's very hard to do the calculation based on different project and then different claiming stage also.
Yeah, and I think this is where coming again, when you talk about connectivity and if you have multiple projects, this is where, surplus, for example, in project A, if let's say you have ordered extra cement or extra sand or what, or steel, and then because you know it's finishing, you're almost like 95% complete, whereas another project is 10% starting. This is where you, if you can reallocate the resources, you know, and reallocation of resources is particularly very crucial, because I mean you cannot send back, you know, the sand that you have ordered, isn't it?
Yes.
So the only way is actually to relocate into other projects so that you will not lose more than what. And the only way to do that is if you have a digital solution. You have a digital solution that can help you to tell you, hey, look here, I've got extra.
Help you,
you
to
know,
fully utilize all the resources.
Yes. This is the biggest challenge, I think.
And this is also why today most of the technology they call as the data-driven technology, because that, like just like what Puiman just now mentioned, there's a lot of drama inside the construction side, right? But you know what? Like there's a message that delivered inside the internet. People say that people can tell lies, but data won't tell lies. And this is how the data-driven technology is helping most of the traditional industry. They help them to really break down, okay, what exactly your thing works, or what thing that you can get, what thing you cannot get, what thing you are lost, what thing you are earning profit. And this is how, based on this data, it will prove that, okay, whether you are actually making profit or not, or whether you are actually doing the things right.
I would like to add on that. I think right now, a lot of contractors, they are asking these questions. So I know government is pushing for digitizations.
Yes.
Everyone is talking about digitizations. But the main question contractors have is, how? How do I digitize? Everyone talks about digitizations. What is digitization? You mean go offline to online? So is Google Drive enough? Can I just buy Google Drive? Is that a digitization?
Or just put your Microsoft Excel to the Google Docs.
Is that considered as digitization?
People thought this is the digitalization.
So it's actually not. It's not. I have a few tips for contractors who wants to go digitizations and digitalizations. I think just now Dato already mentioned, don't forget about digital transformation. Don't talk about transformation. Focus on your own company. These 3 tips will help you to go digital. Tips number 1, look at your company. What costs your company the most money as contractor? There are only 2 areas that can cost you the most money, depending on your trade. 1, material management. 2, your labor or your subcontractors management. These 2 will cost you the most money based on what my client told me. Number 2, after you identify this area, you look for tools to solve the challenges you face in these 2 areas. So the tool that you look, there are a lot of digital tools. How to choose the right one? You choose the one that your employee will use without you forcing them to use. Because if you buy a tool, a digital tool or whatever Changyou software, no one use it, it's a waste of money.
And this is actually one of the challenges that are faced by the industry today.
Correct.
Because like most of the so-called business owner, okay, or the director, that they are actually the one that buy this system or buy this technology.
Yes.
But this is why when they buy this technology, they thought that this technology can help him. But at the end, that he's the higher management, which means the really on ground people is not really using. At the end, it's actually another wastage also, because they actually invest a lot of money on this system, but at the end, nobody really using it.
I think basically when you talk about all this, the basic thing is how do you put an information system and interconnect all these information systems so that people will be able to use it easily. Just like, even an 80 or 90-year-old guy can use a WhatsApp. Okay, and how to use it. So basically, we need to create this kind of situation, and I believe there are many tools where you can connect between A, B, C, D, and all the dots. Okay. Now the biggest challenge for people is that they are not able to see which of these actually solutions can provide or give them the best in terms of just now when you talk about managing resources, managing people. Because at the end of the day, just give you an example. Take a contractor, he has got a solution. He has to manage people, he has to manage the, the materials. Now, the person who approves it, sitting in the office.
Yeah.
He's not on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, so he doesn't know about the weather or whatever it is. All he knows is that he or she knows is that okay, somebody requests this, somebody
Yeah.
requests that. That's all.
Yeah.
No. So and if the system is complicated enough, he will say, oh, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
No. So, and I'm very sure, with your experience, Moon, she is able to provide, a solution where it's meant for idiots actually.
Yeah.
Anybody who doesn't know anything, as long as you can read, you can write, you can see, should be able to.
This is what
to
we
do.
call as the user-friendly.
Yes,
Yeah.
And this is a thing which is particularly very important, because when people talk about digitalization or digital whatever it is, people get worried,
Yes.
and they think that it's very complicated.
Yeah.
And when they think it's very complicated, I'm not going to learn another new tools, things like that.
Yeah.
All right. So remember this. I think for the industry to be competitive, for the industry to move forward, we need to adopt these new ways of doing things.
Yeah.
I like to mention here, that when you talk about digitalization, many people think that it's a new way. No, actually, 10,000 years ago, how do we write? We talk, and then we write. How do we write? We chisel. And then after that, we discover what we call that a papyrus, and then later we discover a pen, paper, and then a typewriter, and then a computer. No.
Yeah.
Today you have
Phone.
voice,
Yeah.
voice to write. Okay, so basically it's just a tool to help you to do things, and whether you like it or not, if you do not adapt to these new tools, you'll be left behind.
Yeah.
Okay, and the worst part is you'll be the least competitive. And in today's business environment, you need to be very competitive for you to be sustainable for the next number of years. And to be competitive is not an easy exercise. There are many things that you need to look at. For example, in the construction industry, labor accounts for a large percentage of the construction cost. The second thing is actually the material cost. And then the others, administrative costs, and the others are all very negligible. So if you can manage these two components well, you should be able to improve your efficiency or your margins.
This is actually also happened in my property developer side. Like most of them, they think that the property developer actually they are just selling the property. But you can see for the past 5 to 10 years, most of the developers currently they are already switching their behavior. That's a trend in the property developer industry. Right? Most of them they are now is more focusing on the after sales service. This is how they actually they were starting to manage like the so-called the quality. Because that we all know that today there is the development everywhere. Just a small area, it can be a lot of developer building many projects there, right? And this is how the property developer they going to stand out from their competitor is they need to deliver the very good quality. And this is how the construction technology also came in, because the construction technology people say that construction technology is not only used for the construction industry but also the property industry. Like for those the developer that are going to deliver a very quality product, and this construction technology is the solution that helping them to communicate, to connect with the contractor, make sure that actually because that the contractor is the one that build the building, but the developer actually is to supply the land and sell the building. They need to have some kind of the agreement. They need to know that what they are going to sell is actually what they are going to build. And this is how the construction technology come in to work together between to connect the developer and also the contractor together.
Since Chua, you mentioned about this, what do you call that, the developer, right? When you talk about property developers, right, one of the things that they can look at is how to use augmented reality or virtual reality in terms of promoting their property sites, and that is particularly very important because people would like to see what kind of housing environment they are going to buy in the future.
The experience.
And this is something which actually is a sales or marketing tool that can enhance the confidence of the potential client or potential buyer. And this is one of the ways that actually, whether you like it or not, contractors and developers will have to see how they can actually use these digital developments to their competitive advantage. Another area that I think which is also reality, and I'm not sure whether contractors are aware, is actually the role of 3D printing. 3D printing is actually moving very fast. Okay, in Malaysia, I think it's still new. Many people think
it's
about
not
3D.
widely used yet.
You know, people think about 3D printing as printing materials. You know,
Not
things
really.
like that.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
small
not
things.
really.
Fans or
Yes.
But
this.
look at in some other countries like China, they are able to build a hospital with 3D printing in just a matter of how many days only. You know, and 3D printing is an alternative technology to whatever we are doing now. So of course, you know, they cannot do very high-rise kind of hospitals or things like that, buildings. But that is a new area for contractors to look into, to explore. You know, because you can do 3D printing house within 24 hours.
Yes.
You know, and it could be cheaper.
I just want to draw both of you back to reality. So if we have a contractors audience here, the first question they will ask you is, that will cost me money lah.
I'm not only contractor, but everyone also will be asking this one.
So, and then the next thing they will tell you is that, you know why our overseas people can do it? Because labor cost is expensive. In Malaysia, labor cost is cheap. Why bother going digital? Why bother looking into other technology? No point.
No. I disagree, because you know why? Today, if you look at the Malaysian labor market, okay, relative to the international European or American labor market, of course we say our labor cost is relatively cheaper. But if you compare to other countries also, you find that labor is not going to be very cheap. If you compare with Japan, for example, it's not going to be very cheap. Or Singapore, or even Taiwan or other countries, you know. Now, we cannot be competing in that perspective. I think if we want to, why contractors will have to digitize is that they need to think in the long term. Because at the end of the day, there is what you call economies of scale. By investing 1 million now, you will be able to enhance your profit margin from, for example, 10% to 30%. And that's where you are going to recover your investment cost. Now, another thing that I think the government should do, this is my opinion, you know, is that so far when I look at the incentives in terms of capital allowance, because these are capital expenditures, the incentives are not really there, you know, for companies to actually participate in digital transformation, because the incentive allowances are nominal. For example, how can you expect, for example, when you talk about purchasing digital equipments, these are all, you need to depreciate, amortize within 3 years. But then under the incentives, you are allowed up to 10 years. This doesn't make sense. So there is actually a need for the government to review the incentives on capital allowances, so that these contractors will be able to participate. For example, if they're going to spend 1 million and they're going to recover in 10 years, they're not going to spend.
Yes, definitely.
On the other hand, if they can recover that 1 million within 3 years, of course they're going to participate in digital transformation. So there is actually another end actually on the public policy where the government will have to relook at this to encourage particularly the medium support for the contractor to do the digital transformation. You know?
Yes. Yeah, this is very interesting because I can only speak from data. I think data speak louder than words. I take speed break per se. When we start helping contractors to go digital, one of my clients actually see instant return of investment. They instantly see after 1 month of adoptions, they see 89% improvement on productivity. That is also the employee are also 97% more accountable. The best thing is 36% of the company users are using it after working hours. What this means is that your company are now working 24 hours. Before going digital, you have to wait for the office to open. So these are all instant return of investment. I think contractors, if you are to go digital, and developers as well, you need to start measuring before going digital and after going digital, what are the improvements? So to see, to also manage and also look at the profit. Because the best thing about go back to my previous point where I said I'm going to give 3 tips. The tips number 3 is how do you get reports, director, for contractors? How do you get reports? Today, you wait for people to produce the report to you. 99.9% of the time, the report is not accurate. And you need to use a tool to automate this reporting with single source of truth. Meaning, when you look at the report, it must be 100% accurate. I think
Real
this is
time.
very important. And in real time,
Yeah.
you're right, in real time. So this is my 3rd tips for contractors. So going digital will help you automate the reports which will help you make data-driven decisions to prevent expensive mistakes. Some of our clients is able to catch 6 figures mistakes, 7 figures mistakes. I think contractors, in order to move forward, you have to look into going digital now. And of course, government have to play their role. Us service provider also have to play a role in listening to the challenges contractors are facing. And Chua, in the developer side, I think developers should also play an important role in helping contractors go digital.
Actually, this is also why that one of my solution actually helping the developer to manage the defect, the defect record. And during the handover, we all know that like if let's say we're using the traditional method, after you take the key from the developer, right, you need to take the form, go back to check, then you do sticker, then you will write down, okay, where is it, take the photo. But for now, actually, there is a solution there. Actually, you can just directly digitalize this so-called the digital, so-called the defect submission process. Is like, you imagine that you got a phone, okay, you just open the apps, you can directly take the photo, pin the location, then you just submit. And this is actually also how this technology is not only helps you to more easier to manage and more easier to submit. You no longer need to do all these paperwork. It actually also what the Puiman just now mentioned is speed up the process. The processing time. Like usually they need to submit the form, need to go back to the management office, submit to you, then you need to, after you collect, you need to pass to the contractor. Then within this period of time already use up almost 1 day, 1 or 2 days already. But if you can instantly, in real time, whenever I submit here, immediately management side can receive, hey, there's a new record come in. I can immediately assign to the contractor. This is how the technology actually try to speed up the process. Like this one is actually very important for the not only contractor but also developer. Like we all know that under the developer agreement, there is only the defect liability period is around 24 months. That they need to really go and attend and really finish up all these defect record that's submitted by the owner, by the buyer on time. And this is how the technology actually will help them to try to avoid the delay, and also try to help them to more organize in the defect fixing parts. Like example, like for the contractor, usually they receive a lot of the so-called the defect, right? Then they need to filter out one by one which one is actually which subcon actually doing this thing. Like because we know that plumber is plumber, the plumber category, like the M&E is M&E category. Because that for the developer and also the buyer side, they won't know that I should submit to who. If they just submit to the management, then what the management do is the management still need to do the filtering. But with the help of the technology, actually we can eliminate all these things. Everything become automated. And this is how even the data side, the reporting, like no longer the weekly report or the weekly meeting, they no longer need to use up 2 to 3 days to really do and properly do the Excel file. They just click on the button, they can directly get the report already.
I think what you say is true, but actually I just want to ask Primula, if I say these contractors were to do the digital transformation or digitization of their businesses, right? How much margin you think they can improve in terms of, reducing the leakages that they didn't realize? How much you think? 15%, 20%?
Just to put a figure on that, first thing we have to understand 2 questions. Number 1, do you treat tech as an expense or an investment? So it depends on how much money you put in. You want to talk about return. So let's say you treat this as an investment. Then the question is, which area you digitize? Based on my experience, just by digitizing the material management and the labor management, some of my clients are able to catch mistakes up to 7 figures.
7 figures.
7
okay.
figures.
What percentage would that be about for
That
the
is
construction
around
cost?
100 millions project. You're looking at 7 figures. Let's say 1%, roughly 1%. That is the minimum lah. That is in terms of cashback.
Okay.
Cashback. However, what about the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
89% improvement.
Okay.
97% accountability. And also money that you see. Your people now can do more work with lesser resources. In other words, many people ask me, how many people can I cut? But based on studies, right, it's just by managing your material properly, you can cut down wastage up to 24 to 26%.
24, at least about more than 20%. You
More
can,
than 20%.
yeah.
So that's between 24 to 26,
Yeah, yeah.
26%. There's a studies on this.
Okay. So that means some empirical studies have shown that you can gain as much as at least 20%, you know.
That, if you need to translate it into figure, because many people don't understand what does 24% means. If you are running 100 million projects, you will need to spend 70 million to buy material.
Yeah.
And most of the time of this 70 million, you will waste at least 20%. That is the minimum figures based on statistics.
If you do not monitor well, right? In
Yes.
most cases, right?
Yes, if you do not monitor well, you can waste up to 36%.
Yeah. So most likely the technology having to avoid this thing to happen. Yeah.
So you'll be able to improve your margins, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now the other thing that I would like to mention here, I think many people may not be aware, is that when you talk about digital developments and all that, most of likely they like to talk to IT or tech experts only.
Yeah.
You know? And this is something that we need to advise the contractors, is that there are two parts. One is the technology part, where you need to talk to the tech experts, but the other one, which is actually the non-tech experts.
Yeah, the industry expert.
The users, you know, from the user's perspective, from the client's perspective. And in most cases, we ignore, okay, the need to use the non-tech experts to help us to decide on the technology solutions that we want to do.
Yes.
So basically, I think this is I think if I were to say this to the contractor, advice is that please, you know, before they decide to do any technological adoption or whatever it is, know what you are doing, number one. And number two, make sure that whatever you are doing, check with your non-tech people, for example, from the user's perspective, the clients, because you're going to purchase a system, and then your worker is not going to, the worker is not going to use, so there's no point, you know, or he or she doesn't know how to use it, or it's very complicated. So make sure that we talk to the non-tech people so that it becomes what you call that very easy and very friendly to the user, and also to the person who what do you call that adopts the system.
Yeah.
You know, so that is my frank you know advice to the.
Then really thank you. Okay, I think that due to the time's constraint, I will have to close the section already. But I think before we close this section, maybe I should invite maybe Dato or Puiman, you just have a closing remark to really wrap up for our today topics.
In order for contractors to be competitive in the upcoming years, going digital is inevitable. You don't do it now, you also have to do it in future. It's time to start looking, utilizing the 3 tips. Number 1, identify the area that you want to digitize. Number 2, make sure your employee will use the tool you select. Number 3, automate the reports. These are the 3 tips that I have for the audience today. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think I agree with the 3 tips given by Primun. Okay, but one last point is that if you want to continue in this particular industry as a contractor, okay, you cannot avoid it. You have to adopt like what Primun has said, you know, to do the digitization of your business, and it's about time that you think about how to do it in the next level for you to achieve your desired goals and also objectives.
Yeah, I fully agree with both of you. Like whether you like it or not, this is the digital road that everyone need to be need to be
forward,
there. Need to be go through. And this is how that not only for the construction side, but actually every industry also facing the same thing. So I think that's all for today, and very thank you for Dato Sri and also the Puiman that taking your time out of your very, very busy schedule to
Thanks the audience.
to
Thank
listen
you.
today.
See you.
Yeah,
Thank
and I
you.
hope that all of our audience really get some benefit on our sharing today. Okay,
Right,
and
thank you.
really thank you very much for
Thank you, everyone.
Dr. Sri, Hui Man, and thank you everyone for online today with us. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.